Hello again, grade 3 students. Welcome to math class. This is again your teacher Anna, and we are going to have the second part of the lesson for today. We are going to continue our lesson for today, and that is still topic 13, lesson 7, whole numbers and fractions, on pages 709 to 712. For today's lesson, we will need, again, your math book. Please get your math book if you don't have it yet. A pencil, a ruler for you to make a number line, and some fraction strips if you have there in the house. For the lesson objective, you say, I can use fraction names to represent whole numbers. And mentioned in the first part of the video, we have the vocabulary words. We have whole numbers. What are whole numbers? They are regular numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And they are also known as counting numbers. Repeat after me, whole numbers. Good job. Now another word is fractions. Repeat after me, fractions. So fractions are parts of a whole. For example, we have here the fraction 1/3. Okay, so as you can see in the figure, the circular figure, you have here 3 equal parts, and we have one shaded part that is color blue. Okay, now we have here the parts of the fractions. We have the upper number, this number 1 here, that is what we call numerator. And we have here the lower number, number 3, that is what we call what? Good job, we have denominator. We are going to proceed with our lesson. We are going to watch a video for you to further know on how to use fraction names to represent whole numbers. So just sit back, try
Hello.
to take down
I'm
some
glad you could
notes
join me.
if it's
I was just
necessary,
getting ready to use this apple
and
and this number
enjoy
line
watching the
to
video.
explore whole numbers and their equivalent fraction names. How many apples do we have? One whole apple. We can represent the apple on a number line like this. 1 is a whole number. We can also represent the apple as a fraction. The number of apples, 1, is the numerator, and the number of parts is the denominator. It's a whole apple, so it has only one part. If we had 4 whole apples, we would represent them on the number line like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each whole apple is represented by a whole number. Do you remember how we showed one apple as a fraction? The number of apples, 1, 2, 3, 4, are the numerators. And the number of parts, 1, is the denominator. 1 whole apple, 2 whole apples, 3 whole apples, 4 whole apples. Here are 2 whole apples. 1, 2. What if we cut them in half? We still have 2 apples, but now there are 2 parts to each apple. The hash marks between the whole numbers show that each apple is divided into halves. Each mark equals 1/2. So how many halves do you see? 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves. 2 halves is an equivalent fraction for 1. 4 halves is an equivalent fraction for 2. Now it's your turn. If we cut the apples into quarters, what would be the equivalent fraction for 1? What would be the equivalent fraction for 2? Good luck, and be sure to show your answer to the teacher. See you next time.
Now let's see if you have really understood the idea of the lesson. Now open your book to page 711. We have their guided practice. Okay, we have do you understand? Number 1. Explain how you know that 4 1 is equal to 4 wholes. How do you know? You have 1 minute to answer. You may pause this video while you are answering, and once you're done, you can play it again. Are you done? Good. Now we have 4 1 means 4 wholes. So 4 1 is another name for 4. 4 1 and 4 are at the same point on the number line. Did you understand that? Now, if you want to check, you can use your ruler and make a number line and try to see if 4 1 and 4 are at the same point on the number line. Okay, this time we are going to do the do you know how, number 2. Complete the number line. As you can see, there are some missing numbers. So all you have to do is to fill in or complete the number line. You have 1 minute to do that. Once you're done, play the video again. Okay, I think you're already done. Now let's try to answer it together. As you can see, on the upper part of the number line, we have there the denominator 3. Okay, so what should be the first number? Okay, so the first number or the first numerator is 1. Did you get it right? Good. After 1 is 2, then after 2 is 3. After 3 is 4. After 4 is 5. And after 5 is 6. Good job. Now, notice that you have here the wholes 1 and 2. Okay, now let's try to see the denominator is 6, meaning to say one whole is divided into 6 equal parts. So what should be the first numerator? We have here 1, 1/6. Next, 2/6. Next is 3/6. Then 4/6. Then 5/6. And then 6/6. Next, 7/6. And then 8/6. 9/6. 10/6. 11/6. And 12/6. Did you all get it right? Good. Now let's go to number 3. Look at the number line. Write 2 equivalent fractions for each whole number. Okay, so look, we have here whole number 1. So we can see here whole number 1. All right, so what are the fractions equivalent to this whole number 1? So we have here for the denominators 3 and 6. What are the fractions that are equivalent for the whole number 1? We have, as you can see, we have these two fractions here. So for the denominator 3, we have 3 or 3/3. And for the denominator 6, we have 6/6. Did you get that? Always remember that when the numerator and the denominator are the same, that should be equal to 1. So 3/3 is equal to 1, and 6/6 is equal to or equivalent to 1. Now, what about for the whole number 2? What do you think is the numerator for the fraction with the denominator 3? What is it? Okay, so as you can see here, we have the whole number 2, and these fractions here have the same point on the number line. So we have here these numerators. 2 is equivalent to 6/3, and 2 is equivalent to 12/6. Okay, do you understand now? Grade 3 is really very easy. So I believe you are able to answer it very well. Okay, now let's try another examples. We have write two equivalent fractions for each whole number. Now let's have here the whole number 2. Now we know that another way of writing the whole number 2 is writing 2 as the numerator and 1 as the numerator. So 2, 1 is an equivalent fraction for the whole number 2. Now, on the next fraction we have here, we know that the denominator is 2. Okay, it's very easy. Just simply multiply 1 with the 2. That's why we have here the denominator 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. Now, since you are multiplying 1 with a 2, or you are multiplying the denominator with a 2, hence we're also going to multiply the numerator with a 2, making it 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. Thus, the equivalent fractions for the whole number 2 are 2, 1 and 4, 2. Okay, now we have here the whole number 3. Okay, again, we know that another way of writing the whole number 3 as a fraction is writing 3 as the numerator and 1 as the denominator. Okay, now we can see that on the other fraction, we have here 3 as the denominator, giving us the idea of multiplying 1 with 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. Now, since you are multiplying 3 to the denominator, what are we going to multiply to the numerator then? We're going to multiply it with a 3 also. So 3 times 3 will give us the answer of 9. Okay, so we have here the two equivalent fractions for the whole number 3 are 9/3 or 9/3 and 3/1. Do you understand? Good job. Okay, we have here another. For each pair of fractions, write the equivalent whole number. Say, for example, you don't have a ruler with you and you don't have a pencil with you, so you cannot make a number line. How are you going to look for the equivalent whole number given the pair of fractions? Now, all you have to do is to divide the numerator to its denominator. Okay, so we have here the first fraction. The first fraction is 4, 1. So 4 divided by 1 is 4. And the next fraction is 8 divided by 2, or 8 halves means 8 divided by 2. What's the answer? The answer is 4. Thus, the equivalent whole number for these two fractions is 4. Did you get it? Good. Next, we have here 10 half, okay, and 15/3. Okay, so what is the equivalent whole number for these two fractions? So first, you're going to divide the numerator to its denominator. So we have here 10 divided by 2, which is equal to 5, and 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5 also, thus giving us the answer of 5 as their equivalent whole number. Is it easy? Very easy. Good job. Okay, now let's do the independent to practice on page 711. We have here numbers 4 to 7. Write two equivalent fractions for each whole number. You can draw number lines to help. Okay, and for numbers 8 to 11, we have for each pair of fractions, write the equivalent whole number. Okay, you have 2 minutes or 3 minutes to do this. You may pause the video while you're answering, and once you're done, you can play it again. Okay, are you done answering? Good. Let's see if your answers are the same as my answers. So we have, okay, so for number 4, we have the missing numbers are 8 and 4. For number 1, we have 4 and 1. For number 6, we have 6 and 2. Number 7, 10 and 5. Number 8, the equivalent whole number is 3. For number 9, we have 1. For number 10, we have 2. And for number 11, we have 3. Did you all get the correct answers? Very good. Great job. Now let's have page 712. We have number 13. Okay, let's read it together. Declan says, to write an equivalent fraction, name for 5, I can write 5 as the denominator and 1 as the numerator. Do you agree with Declan? Explain. Okay, you have 1 minute to answer. You may pause the video once again and play it after. Okay, now let's see if you have the same, or let's see if you agreed or you disagreed with Declan. Okay? Right, so the answer is no. 5 is 5 wholes, each divided into 1 equal part. So 5 should be the numerator and 1 the denominator, not the other way around. Do you agree? Okay, good job. Let's do number 17. We have higher order thinking. We have Peggy has 4 whole sandwiches. She cuts each whole into halves. Peggy gives away 2 halves of the sandwiches. Show the number of halves Peggy has left as a fraction. You have 1 minute to answer. Okay, are you done? Now, let's see if your answers are correct. So, the correct answer is 6 halves. Do you know why? Okay, we have here this one. We know that Peggy has 4 whole sandwiches, okay? And if you're going to put 4 whole into a fraction, we're going to say 4 1. Always remember, 4 1 is just the same as 4 wholes. Do you understand? Okay, so we're going to find the equivalent fraction for 4 1. We know that Peggy cuts each whole into halves, and when we say halves, we have 2 as the denominator. Okay, do you remember how to get the equivalent fraction? All right, we know that the next denominator is 2, hence we will multiply the denominator 1 with a 2. So 1 times 2 is equal to 2, right? Now, since you are multiplying the denominator with a 2, we are also going to multiply the numerator 4 with a 2, giving us the answer 4 times 2 is 8, thus giving us the fraction 8 halves this time. Now, we're not yet done. Why? Because Peggy gives away 2 halves of the sandwiches. So we're going to use 8 half minus 2 half. Okay, just copy the same denominator too. 8 minus 2 is 6. Therefore, Peggy has 6 half, 6/2 or 6 half left as a fraction. Did you get it right? Good job. I know you got it. It's very easy. Now let's have the last one. We have number 18. Complete the equations. Draw lines to match the whole number on the left to the equivalent fractions on the right. Now we have here the whole numbers 4, 1, 2, and 6. Now we're going to match these whole numbers to the fractions, to the equivalent fractions on the other side. Let's start first with a 4. Which do you think? Which do you think is the equivalent fraction for the whole number 4? Okay, the correct answer is, there you go. 8 half or 4 whole is equal to 8 half equals 16 quarters or 16 over 4. Okay, or simply for you to get the whole numbers, simply divide 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. That is also equivalent to 16 over 16 divided by 4 is 4, thus getting us the whole number 4. Next, we have the whole number 1. Where are the equivalent fractions? We have, okay, so we know that numerator, if the numerator and the denominator are the same, then that would be equal to 1. So 4 divided by 4 equals 1. 1 divided by 1 equals 1. Next, we have here 2, whole number 2. Which are the equivalent fractions? Okay, the correct answer is, there you go. So if you will divide 6 divided by 3, that would have, or we will get 2. And then 4 divided by 2 is equal to 2. Thus, the correct answer is 2 for the whole number. And the last one, we have 6. Okay, so 6, 1 is equal to 6. And 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6. Good job. Now it's very easy. Now you know how to use. Okay, now that you know how to use fraction names to represent whole numbers, you already know how to look for the equivalent fractions and how to look for the equivalent whole numbers. Congratulations. Just continue watching the videos, continue participating and answering the activities, and for sure you will succeed. Okay, great job, grade 3. Thank you so much, and may you have a great day. This has been Teacher Anna once again, and have a great day.